I don't want that.
Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the personal development podcast for entrepreneurs who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. So my normal co-host and sidekick partner in crime, you know him as the super CEO. He is not with us today. He is on travel. He's attending a conference. We wish him safe travels. And I always tell people, when you're a super CEO, every now and then, you got to go to a conference. That's just the way it is, right? Super CEOs go to
Absolutely.
conferences. So we definitely wish him safe travels. But this is a special episode that you want to lean in. We haven't done anything like this before. It's a special Valentine's Day episode. It's how to be intentional in love, business, and life. So whether you're single, whether you're married, you want to lean in because there's going to be some useful tips for you and your business and your life. Let me go ahead and introduce my special guest. Well, first, I have a question. Are you prepared for the love that's aligned with you?
That's right. That's right.
Right. I mean, that's the question that's on the table. That hopefully Les and Sydney, well, I know they're going to be able to answer this for everybody to help you to be able to move in that direction. But let me go ahead and introduce. I'll start with Sydney. Sydney Allen. She is a licensed clinical professional counselor. She specializes in family and couples counseling. Then we have her husband, Les Allen, who is a business savvy entrepreneur that's built several successful businesses. And he's got this thing that he calls the 5 P's that he attributes to his success. It's the patience, planning, partnerships, perseverance, and prayer. And he considers those the foundational elements to his success. And they are the authors of the book Intentional Foreplay. And we're going to get into the book and what it's about and how they came up with the title and why they decided to write it and all that good stuff. But a couple of things you need to know that I haven't told you yet. They are both graduates of Hampton University.
HU?
That's right, the real HU.
Right.
And Les Allen is a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Arr, arr.
And there's a rumor that you pledged on like one of the greatest lines ever to come through Omega Psi Phi.
That would not be a rumor.
That's not a rumor. That's a fact.
That's an actual fact. We have receipts, many receipts to prove it.
Yeah, we do. Actually, Les is my line brother. We are Spring 90 Hampton University. And Sydney is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. All right. So please welcome Les and Sydney Allen to the 30-minute hour podcast.
Good day, people. Good day.
Right. Happy to be here.
All right. Happy to have you. Truly an honor. I've been wanting to do this. I had Les on a while back. Definitely wanted to have both of you on to talk about the book. But let's give everybody the backstory. How did you meet?
Well, she was standing on a bus stop, sucking on a lollipop. Just kidding. No, we weren't at Hampton at the same time. We were both psychology majors. Had multiple classes together. Actually stayed in co-ed, a dorm on Hampton's campus for a year, and I just would see her around the hallways and just thought she was a cutie.
Right.
So.
Right. And then Les did a little bit of reaching out to one of my line sisters who was down in Tampa, in the Tampa area, and wanted to know if Sid was single. And so line sister Michelle reached out to me, and so I was newly single. And so I made that very clear to her. I'm newly single, but I'm not really entertaining any games. Like this next journey, whatever maybe whenever it comes is going to be very intentional. And so she said, well, she said, okay, I think it's a good catch. She said, but is it okay if I just share your information? And so I said, okay, well, let's talk about who this person is. And
I don't see a problem.
I knew it was someone from Hampton. And so I kind of just threw the process of deduction a little bit. I really did think of less. Just because, we follow people on Facebook, and he was one of my friends who I routinely saw, and I was kind of intrigued by some of his posts. Some were just downright silly. And so when she said the name, I wasn't shocked. I had kind of wondered, okay, well, what was up with him? I used to see him post before, with the wifey. I don't really see that now. I'm wondering if he's single. So, yeah, so that's kind of how it happened. And this was October of 2020.
2020, during the pandemic. So there was a little part left out in that story. So between 1990 and 2020, there's some years that passed in between. And we went off after graduation and did our own things. We were married to different folks and have some experience. So we've been married how many years between us now?
39.
So
now if you add our year, because we were at 40.
Yeah, 40.
So we have 4 decades of marital experience
between the two.
Between the two of us. And if we couldn't make this work, then clearly something's wrong.
4 decades of marriage experience.
4 decades. Good, bad, and everything in between.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a big reason that people need to go out and get that book that's featured right behind you, Intentional Foreplay, because
Absolutely.
It's based off of 4. You can basically in a few hours get 4 decades of experience.
Right.
Yeah, you can and learn the best. I would say some of the best. I won't say even secrets. Just some of the best information that's kind of cream of the crop information. I'll say that. We didn't waste a lot of time because that's one of the reasons we wrote the book, so that people, especially our daughters, won't waste time as we did. We want to be able to say we're 40 years married to the same person. So we put those kind of helpful hints into the guidebook so that people won't have to waste their time. So, and be intentional with their decisions.
So it's interesting. So you met in 1990, but you got married years later. So when you met in 1990, was there ever a thought between one of you like, hey, you know what, this could be the one? Oh man, or was it? What was the thinking then?
So she was just, that little cute AKA girl running around campus, and I was like, oh, she's cute, but we were kind of doing our own. I was doing my own thing at that time as well, so it really wasn't an opportunity to holler at her. So now.
Right. Fast forward all these years, and they're presented an opportunity, which I'm grateful for, because I think in life it really is about timing. And I don't know if we had met and connected then, if we could have, built what we have now. I think we had to. The beauty of experiences, you have to kind of go through some things to learn from them. And I think for both of us, dating in the past, after our marriages dissolved, was just so complicated.
Right.
And I think from that complication, we desired a different process, an easier process. And so I think we both decided to be very intentional. And so I attribute our success from our intentionality plus our alignment. And I think when the two of those met, it just, created a dynamic thing. And so writing this book for us was really our testimony, and something that we proudly wanted to share, because really it doesn't have to be so difficult. My profession is a licensed counselor, so I work with a lot of couples and married couples, and just even couples in relationships who I see go through such challenges. And I think a lot of it is due to the lack of alignment early on. And so I think it's very important to really identify early on, where you are, what you want.
So I hear this word intentional. It just keeps coming up, right? So what is it that keeps people from being intentional, whether it's business, whether it's love? What do you find? What are some like the common barriers that keep people from being as intentional as they could be?
Intentionality in every realm that you mentioned requires stick to itiveness. You have to have a game plan, and you stick to that game plan. You can't just kind of go and wander with the wind. Um, if you say, I'm going to become an architect, well, saying that you're going to become an architect is a lot different from actually doing the work and doing everything you have to do to become one. So the same thing about life and being intentional with your life. There are so many times when I think that we are blown in the wind
Mm.
because things get difficult, or we're tired, or we lose focus. So that's where I think if everyone was intentional with what they're doing, life would be a lot easier. But we're humans, so we have those shortfalls, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree with Les said. And I also feel like we too often do a whole lot of negotiating, and we negotiate in areas that we have no business negotiating in. And we do that for several reasons. We do that because we're scared of being alone. We do that because, everybody else is getting married and having children, and I don't want to be left. We do that because of low self-esteem,
Right.
and we don't place that value on ourselves that we should. So there are a lot of different reasons why we settle in relationships, and we just have to get away from settling. We have to get away from the mindset of, I'm going to settle for this person, instead of, I'm going to be with someone who I know is a good fit for me, and I'm going to involve myself in a state of compromise with that person. And those are two very different things, settling and compromising. So I think, like you said, we don't stay intentional because we too often do too much negotiating with folk, and we don't stick to our core principles and our core values.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think having those values is key, whether in business or whether as an individual. I just think there's a lot of
Crossover.
related ideas here between business and in love, as far as being intentional and taking it from there. So let's talk about the writing process of the book. What as Sydney shaking her head, what
Right,
was the
right.
writing process like? Describe that for us.
Wow. Yeah, Eric, that was a process. It was cool at first. It was fun, but I think what was the most challenging part initially was kind of organizing our thoughts and organizing our messaging so that we could really capture that process on paper. Because really, intentional dating is really a process. It's a step-by-step process. So how do you write that down without sounding so robotic? I mean, love is in the equation as well. So, and then once you, I guess, write about intention, it's a lot of repetitiveness. So I think we ran into writer's block at times because we're like, how many different ways can we say it? Intention is kind of clear.
Right.
Intention is clear cut. And so how do you keep drilling that point down? It's going to involve a lot of repetition. And so, yeah, I think it was very fun, but we really had to be creative. We had to dig deep, and we had to be intentional about, because like you mentioned, everything in life requires intention, right? Relationships, business. So even writing a book, we had to intentionally schedule. We had to schedule like on Sundays between 5 and 8 p.m. This is dedicated to such and such. On Mondays, you're going to research this. On Tuesdays, I'm going to research that. Wednesdays, we regroup and talk about what we've researched. So it was a very intentional plan. One quality I really love about Les is just his he is very structured and very organized, and so planning and really executing is something that comes easy to him. And I would say I'm disciplined. I wasn't as great an organizer, but I've learned a lot from him, and so our combination of those qualities that we both possess definitely helped.
Right.
So it was fun. It was a fun process, but it's work, as with any other thing that you wanna put your name to. I mean, you want to be proud of it, and so it's definitely something that you have to put effort, hard work, and everything else into.
Right. And not having ever written anything before to be published, that in itself was a new ordeal, a new business, a new series of tasks that we had to understand and try to be successful at. So we both learned a lot, not only about each other through the process, but also this new business, piece of writing a book.
Right. I would say the book helped us stay straight too, because how can we preach communication and and being understanding and all that? And you got to practice what you preach.
Right.
So it for sure kept us in line too, and still does. I mean, I use it as a tool.
Right.
So it sounds like you had to start making appointments with yourself, right?
Correct.
Instead of saying, you know what, we're going to write some of this book this week. You had to say, okay, Monday from 2 to 4, we're going to do this. Wednesday from 5 to 7, we're going to do that. Am I getting that right?
You're getting it 1000% right.
Absolutely.
And at the beginning, because we were writing our stories, like if you read the first couple chapters of the book, it's the easy part, because we were writing about us, our stories. And then once it became an actual work piece where we had to do more research, and especially for me, because I'm not in this field, I had to do research and get information to back up my thoughts and my beliefs. And then that became a task on top of running a business, on top of the kids, on top of everything else. So it became the point where I know I got up an hour early every day just to get up and do research and read and write some notes down so that I'd be ready for her, because she ain't playing. So I had to be ready for her.
Sydney is not playing.
She's not playing. You're not playing. So, but it took extra work, just like anything in life that you want to do well in, you have to put in the work. And this was just one of those cases where we wanted to write a book and we wanted to be reflective of who we are. So we put in the extra work to do it.
And the book came out probably within a year after our reconnection, after 30 years. So when you're intentional, the road is clear.
Correct.
So my book is about overcoming procrastination. And I was procrastinating on my procrastination book.
Life.
Right.
Life.
So it doesn't sound like you were. You had things mapped out and structured. I think that should be a takeaway for anybody that's looking to have a book project, to really have that structure and really set some firm guidelines for what you want to accomplish. And getting that done in a year is an awesome accomplishment.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of unlike you. You were doing it by yourself. We're a team, so that made it a little, I won't say easier, but it made it.
Accountability.
There was accountability between us too. Like I said, I had to be ready when that clock struck that hour on the calendar where I had to be with Sid and talk about this book. I had to be ready. So yeah, it did make the process go smoother to a certain aspect.
All right, so we're talking to Les and Sydney Allen. They've got this awesome book. It's Intentional Foreplay. You need to go out and get it today. So let's talk more about the book. Share some more of like your biggest relationship lessons learned that you cover in this book.
When you say lessons learned, you mean personal lessons learned or lessons that we because there's a lot. This book only scratches the surface and I can only tell so much, but but I think the biggest thing that I learned personally is what Sid talked about earlier, is don't negotiate your non-negotiables. For me, just like many of us, we get into a situation where there's somebody we may have, wanted to date in the past and dated, or something about this person is special, but I didn't have a specific list of things that I knew I needed up until right before I met Sid. And I kind of developed that list through all of the things that I went through in those relationships, starting with my first marriage all the way through the last person that I dated prior to Sid. And then I kind of figured out what were the things that I needed to make me be happy, but also be the best partner for the person I want to be my best partner. So what we did was I wrote down those non-negotiables. I didn't write them down. I lied. I had them in my head, But when I made it a point to write them down, then that's when I knew that I had to actually live by these, because I would keep running into that same hurdle every time I dated someone if I didn't stick to this list. So that was my biggest takeaway from the process.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest lesson was kind of not settling, kind of spending that time getting to know myself and coming up, like Les said, with my list of non-negotiables, which I didn't have. And so I accepted anything that said the right thing sometimes. And so I didn't ask those clarifying questions early on. And maybe sometimes I did ask the questions, but maybe I kind of said, okay, well, despite this answer, I probably could change this, or let me just give it some time and I can make this happen. So you really have to ask those questions. When people give you their answer, believe their answer, stick to it, and understand that if you don't stand for something, you're gonna fall for anything. So it's important to really stand on your principles and not negotiate them. So that's a big lesson in the book. That's the whole introduction is really about discovering who you are, creating your list of non-negotiables, and then when you're even interested in a prospective partner, going through some questions to find out if you two are in alignment.
Yeah, you piqued my curiosity now. So you're saying that are there specific questions in the book that you can ask to see if you're aligned?
Yes, we have close to 300 questions
No.
in the book. So, and there are questions about different chapters in the book. So every chapter has a set of questions that you can ask. And, a lot of times we talk about, Sid mentioned earlier, repetitiveness. So, if you ever watch those television shows, the police shows, they may ask the person the same question 3 different times in a different way, just so that you can get a very clarifying answer. And that's what we recommend doing in the book as well. So you might see a question that sounds similar to another question in a different chapter, but that's on purpose because you want to receive the best answers possible. And so that's what we do with the questions in the book.
Right.
Is there an example of one of the questions you want to share with us?
Sure. We happen to have a copy of the book right here.
You just happen to have it. There you go.
Right. Yes. So, since a lot of people are in this dating journey, commitment is a crucial area, because before we even get into a dating situation, we want to know what the person's end game is, right? So, just questions to ask one another related to commitment. What are you the most hesitant to talk about regarding a committed relationship? What does freedom mean to you in a committed relationship? What is your definition? Most importantly, what's your definition of commitment? People have
different definitions.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Are you ready to be in a committed relationship? How long does it take for you to know you're ready to be in a committed relationship? Are you or have you ever been afraid of commitment? So, I mean, those are some great questions early on that you can ask to find out some answers. We also, in the book, and this is, I'm not sure what page, we developed the Allen Commitment Scale, and it's like the 4-point scale. And you kind of ask the questions to find out where that prospective partner lands on that commitment scale. Is it kind of like you just committed to yourself and just dating? Are you committed to multiple friends, and we coin that kicking it? Are you committed to one, like a monogamous relationship, my lady, my man? You committed to marriage? Are you ready for marriage? Wifey, husband, so.
With receipts.
Right.
You got that marriage license.
Right, that's on page 60.
On page 60, we can discuss the Allen Commitment Scale.
Right, and that was just us kind of being fun. But in all honesty,
but it works.
Yeah, you got to really determine where somebody is on any commitment scale. I don't care what you call it. It could be the Twigs commitment scale. Where are you in commitment to anything? Where are you in terms of commitment to a book you want to write, or any aspect of your life? Where are you in that commitment?
So with the scale too, we utilize. When we put that together, I was really thinking about, a lot of people say men lie, and I'm gonna, and from my perspective, I don't think, when you're in a you're first in a relationship, I don't know many men that will lie. They may say, hey, now I'm not trying to see nobody's, see one person right now, especially this younger generation. They'll come out and tell you where they are. And I think a lot of times women have to understand where the man is, and he'll tell you. But sometimes women think that they can shift that guy where they want him to be. And so the Allen commitment scale is just another way to have somebody ask someone questions, primarily if, a woman asking a man a question, where are you at? And again, I don't think that there's a lot of lies to it. I think there's some people that aren't listening.
Right. Yeah. A lot of non-listeners.
Yeah. And I think listening is so key. And that's what listening is a key to in our book too. We talk about you have to, when you ask the question, you have to listen to the answer and do more than listen to it, but you have to at least listen to it and know where they are. That's key.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, some of these key points in the book is don't negotiate on your non-negotiables. You have to get to know yourself. You have to really get good at asking questions, and listening is key as well.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Again, I think this applies in business as well.
Right. Eric, we're not gonna do a deal. All of a sudden, you walk out of the meeting and say, "I think we're gonna do a deal." He was just blunt with you. He just said, "I don't think but you in your mind thinking we're gonna do a deal," But it crosses over, like you said. It does. It really does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, even with the questions, I just, it's not about having the right answers, it's asking the right questions. That's success in anything. And that's something I always preach. And I think if you ask the questions and you listen, people will tell you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. So speaking of listening and all that good stuff. We have a surprise edition. Well, not really a surprise because I mentioned her at the beginning. Maisha Hoy.
I'm so excited. Look at us, all this Hampton love and Hampton lovers
in the room.
It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I'm so excited. I was listening backstage, and I guess I have to read the book because anybody, and Eric knows, give me a checklist. Let me go down that checklist. I'm all in.
Good.
Right. You know what I tell people though, you don't have to read it like a novel. It's not. That's why it's called a guidebook. So you read it and you get out what you need to get out of it. You know what I mean? You could put it back down and pick it back up. There's another area of focus, but you don't have to read it page, cover to cover. Yeah,
well, I don't have time to do that anymore, so that's perfect.
Right.
Let me be able to read at my leisure. So
yeah, a lot of folks our age don't have that time to do it. So we don't have the time to do it, so we wouldn't ask them to do it either.
Right. But I did want to ask, because now that you two are our Hampton relationship gurus, are y'all doing like workshops and like intentional foreplay workshops that, we can take this around the country? Because it's really, if you think about when you're, I'm still single, but when I was single in my 30s, I was different than me in my 40s, and now in my 50s, it's a great thing to think that I can go someplace and think these things through and take those moments to really think about intentionally, how I'm going to interact with my new dates in 2023. So you have thought about taking it on the road?
I'll defer to Les for that.
Look.
Oh, Les would love to. Les would love to do
I would have absolutely no problem with that.
Right.
At all.
To do it all. So, I guess eventually that could be the goal. We have started with some podcasts now just to start talking about it. We've recently been able to talk to my home church back in Philadelphia. And so
ooh, Philly.
Yeah. Enon has purchased the book for their marriage ministry.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I have some girlfriends who are using it in their book club. So I always like to kind of start small and get bigger. So I'm definitely open. Definitely sky's the limit, and I'm open to any opportunity where we can kind of duplicate this message because, like I said, our onset was so easy. And I know it's because of where we were and it's our path of intentionality. And if we could just help, if we could help others and spare some of
The garbage.
just the mess, then I mean, I would feel like I've done a really significant thing. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you, Maisha B. Hoy. She is the chief marketing officer for the What Now movement. I think she's got a special announcement that she's going to reveal towards the
What's
end. But
going on?
we'll hold that for the end of the
Okay.
show.
Oh, I have to wait till the. Okay, fine.
She's got a special announcement. I want to keep people listening because people are going to be on the edge of their seat. Like, what is she going to say? I just have to wait and hear what Maisha has to say.
Oh my
I know
gosh.
she's got a
Ditto.
special announcement she's going to.
But it's an announcement that will actually help Les and Sydney with their direction. So perfect.
Yes, it will.
I can't wait.
Fantastic. So Les and Sydney, I am curious because this is something that's a challenge for a lot of couples. What advice do you have for married couples who are thinking about going into business or doing a business venture with each other? Based on your experience, what advice do you have for them?
Read the book. No. we discussed overlap earlier, and you have to do it. It does. This really overlaps into everything that you do, the intentionality of it. So you have to have some non-negotiables when you're talking about doing business with someone. I'm a type A guy business. And when you're talking about getting into business with a partner who is your spouse, then you have to make sure that you guys balance each other out. Because I would get up at 4 and work till 2 in the morning, but you can't have a marriage like that. And so we had to balance things out. And I guess.
Yeah. I think definitely working as business partners is happening more and more. I think the pandemic has kind of spurred some of this.
Yeah.
And I think it's important as a couple, you have that shared vision and you recognize it as two distinct partnerships. So it's a partnership in love and it's a partnership in business.
Right.
And just like in love, where you have to kind of respect someone's, ideas or strategies or skill set, you have to respect that in business as well. So I think the more aligned you are in those areas is key. Having that same shared vision, but individual work styles absolutely have to be
respected.
Yeah. They have to be respected and accommodated, So you need to accommodate different work styles and recognize that as something that's important to the relationship.
Because Maisha, me, we would have been on Oprah Winfrey show right now. I'd have been swimming up in her backyard with a book in my mouth, trying to get the book in the door. But I had to realize that we travel at different paces. We still want to go to the same place, but it's we have to do it we have to respect and understand each other's pace.
Right.
So your business styles are different. Your romance styles are different, or are they similar? Is it that what brought you two together?
Yeah, we love the same. I think again through our 39 years of marital experience, we've learned, how to appreciate our partner, our spouses. So it takes a lot, and especially for me because I have a harder head than most. So it took me a little bit longer to know and learn. So
right, but I think you're right. I think our love language is the same.
And complement.
And complements one another. And I think business, I think there's just a difference because Les has been an entrepreneur for so many years and I've done a more traditional route. And so we just had to learn that about one another and respect it. And we have.
Awesome. Love it. I just love this love story. I can't. Oh my God. Seriously, did y'all plan this for Valentine's Day too, Eric? Or
Absolutely.
That was Mr. Twiggs. Mr. Twiggs.
Oh, wait. me being single is just another day. But I was like, wait, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Oh,
I,
that's
I
so
told my
exciting.
I told my assistant, I said, do not schedule anybody not named Les and Sydney for that that Monday before Valentine's Day.
Right.
That is
Yeah, we appreciate
wonderful.
being able to come on right around February 14th.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, Sydney, this is interesting because not only do you have your experience, but I mean, you actually counsel couples. I mean, that's your background. So you bring your personal and you bring just your work experience to this book project.
Right. Right. Yeah. Definitely do. It definitely made writing the book easier for sure.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the material that I got has just been from working with couples for the last, I've been a clinician since 2005. So really for the last 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a lot of experience with individuals and couples collectively.
Oh, I may have a client for you.
Right.
All right. So we're we're at this next segment. It's called Write This Down. And we will each go around and just really give one key takeaway from this episode that we want people to write down so they can level up. So, Les, Sydney, I'll start with you. What should the people write down so they can level up?
Okay. So mine is two part. Mine is definitely two part. Chemistry gets you in the door. Compatibility keeps you in the house. Okay, I
Whoa.
want them to. Okay. That's number one. That's number one.
Hold on. You got to say that one again. That was
Right. Yes. Chemistry gets you in the door, but compatibility keeps you in the house. So I want
There you
everybody
go.
to remember that's a takeaway. And then the second part, in love, stop settling.
Hmm.
Stop settling. Stop playing musical chairs. And musical chairs, I equate it to you just kind of you're running around, and you're gonna sit and land on anything just so you're not left standing alone. And so
Mm.
you want to get out of that. You want to be more strategic, more deliberate, more cautious. Yeah, don't play musical chairs in love or in life.
Yeah, that creates a visual, right? Because we all
Right.
familiar with
Mhm.
that musical
We
chairs
know
game.
that. We know
That's
that.
powerful.
Right.
Right.
And we know when it's like when you take that last seat, you just force it, right? You just halfway in, you falling off the shit. No,
You're fighting. Now you're gonna fight.
right, fighting. So no, we want to make sure you're more deliberate. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's my takeaway.
Fantastic. So Les, anything you wanted to add to that?
Not to hers. I mean, her takeaway is pretty good. I like that example. I think my biggest takeaway is there's my two, I guess. The first one is just simple. Don't negotiate your non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
Once you take time to write that list down, stick to it. It's gonna be hard because, like I said, there's gonna be people that you may have the interest in, and once you get to meet them and you start going down that list, you go, "Oh man, how am I gonna just?" But you have to, because if you don't, you're gonna end up like I did, married for years, and all of a sudden it just poof. You wonder what happened. Well, it didn't stick with the non-negotiable list. Now you wasted not only your time but someone else's time. So you don't want to do that. And then I think that the second thing that I would like people to take away is, and this goes back to one of the first things that we said, Eric, was treat your love life like a business. Or if you don't want to treat it like a business, if people think that's too harsh, treat it treat it like you're buying a car. Okay. So when you buy a car, do you just go sit in any old car? No, you have an idea of what you want. I want a red car, I want this, I want this, I want this, and I want that. Convertible, blah 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 blah.
Women, red.
I'm sorry.
Red.
Green.
There you go.
Purple.
Purple and gold.
So you have a list of what you want in a vehicle. So why wouldn't you do that in something that you want in your life forever? So a vehicle is only temporary. You want a life partner is to be a life partner. So, but then not only do you have a list, then you go talk to your boys. And I'm buying a car, dog. What you think about this 1995 Mercury Monarch? I want to do this here to it, blah, blah, blah. You go talk to them and you get a lot of feedback. At least you talk to your person that knows. So you should do the same thing in a relationship. You want to talk to people about who that person is if you have a common circle. Luckily, Sid and I had almost 1,000 mutual friends. That added up too. So we could check on, background check quickly. And the third thing is get an appraisal. Know what that car is worth. So, but part of what we talk about in the book too is what you hear it. What's your credit score? And what's these type of things, because that all impacts you. Other parts people want to ask about is what's your family history like? Is there alcoholism in the family? Is this, because you're going to be having to deal with this as a partner. So if my dad is an alcoholic and guess what, he needs to come and live with us down the line, that has to be discussed. So what I'm saying basically is we do all this to buy a car or buy a house or buy this, but we don't do the same actions when we're talking about creating a life partnership. So that's my takeaway. I want people to take away from it, and that is in the book.
The book that you just happen to have right there.
The book I just happen to have.
Intentional foreplay. Make sure you get it. No, those are great comments. Hopefully, people are writing that down. Maisha, did you have anything for the people to write down?
So for me, if I'm going to take lessons, advice, and consider it as a business, it's really be in the moment. For me, because it seems like I'm extraordinarily busy trying to run a business. I was trying to raise my son. So when I did find a person that I wanted to spend time with, I let go of all the other distractions and I focused on him and listened and went through a sort of an appraisal process, because my time was so valuable that I didn't have time to waste on someone who wasn't deserving or I didn't want to settle. So for me, being in the moment is a key way of how I know I like someone, right? Because I'm letting go of the laptop, the people, the business, the contacts. I'm letting go of all that and I'm trying to be present for that person.
Good word.
Being present, being in the moment.
So important.
No, and again, I just think that these things apply in love. This Valentine's Day, we're talking about it. They imply in life, they imply in business as well. Right. So thank you, Maisha, for sharing that. So for me, from a write this down standpoint, I was looking at the write-ups and doing the research for your book, and you talk about how a lot of people ignore, overlook, and they accept the unacceptable. Right. And for me, I think the key is really having a level of self-worth.
Yes.
I just think that's where everything starts, right? Yeah. And you're not going to succeed beyond what you feel you deserve. And I think that's a lot of the problems, because you feel like, if you have low self-esteem, you feel like you have to put up with certain things.
Right.
And tolerate certain things and overlook certain things. So yeah. I think that's the first place to start, is to really, if that means talking to counselors, if that means getting a life coach, if that means whatever it takes, I think that is the most critical step to moving forward and feeling fulfilled in a love relationship. Right.
I think, is that an amen or is that a question?
That's an amen. I just wanted to, amen, hallelujah. But I actually like the title of their book more than I'll read it, but I like the title, right? Because I think for all of us in love and business, in every relationship, being intentional and being true to that, who we are, as you just said, the self-worth is probably the most key thing, right? We don't want to go forth and not be authentic, but as well as we don't want to waste people's time, especially at our age. It's like, either you love me or you don't. Let's get that.
My put our cards on the table here.
Let's get to the no's. This is another business term, but let's get to the no, because you know where you are and you are being intentional in your interaction with another person. I love that. I love the title of your book.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Now these
So,
are all great comments. So Les and Sydney, people are just they're on the edge of their seats. How can they connect with you and get a copy of this book?
okay, before we get there, I just want to leave this one thought on the table. The very first quote we open our book with simply states, most people don't aim too high and miss. They aim too low and hit. And that's what this is about being intentional. Write your list down, set that list up high, and you just go for it. You'll be okay. So you can purchase your copy of the book, get some more information about us at www.intentionalletter4play.com, or you can follow us at intentional_4play at IG, or that's that's really it right now.
Google intentional for play, and I'm sure the socials and websites will pop up. And if not, you need to call me.
But no, people, you need to get your copy of Intentional Foreplay today.
Right.
Go out and get your copy. I think it would make an excellent gift to get to your loved one, significant other. We're in that Valentine's Day window. Get to look like a hero, be a hero. Get the book, Intentional Foreplay.
And for those couples who need to maybe take another look at what's going on in a relationship, I think would be
Right. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I will
Also,
buy
to get
that
back
for this couple that I'm thinking about for their Valentine's.
Well, we say you want to take the book off the shelf and go through the questions to get realignment, to obtain something, to get some realignment. And also, when we suggest, this is just a suggestion to the listeners out there and the watchers, you buy 2 copies. You have, so that we have it set up so that you can write next to the questions, and you don't want to write your notes with your I don't know.
No, I can't see.
Can't see, but there's spaces where you write notes in the book. So it's a workbook. So each of you can work it. And yeah, of course, we have a special deal for 2 copies.
And do they get consulting with you too? So
not with the purchase of the book, but with additional. I mean, if they reach out for services based on insurance or
okay,
whether or not, because right now I'm still operating remotely, so via telehealth, and so certain insurances cover that and certain don't. So it would be an additional conversation to find that out.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, we certainly want to thank Les and Sydney. Alan, we're going to allow them to promote the book one more time before we sign off. But I did want to turn this over to our chief marketing officer.
Yes, we got to hear this.
Special announcement everybody's been waiting to hear about. Maisha, what's the special announcement?
So I am so happy to announce that the What Now movement is doing a podcast masterclass. It will be led by the 30-minute hour host, Eric Twiggs and Ted Fells, and it's really going to help you go from the friends and family discount plan that you have to 500,000 downloads, and to be ranked top 2% on podcasts. Eric and Ted have come up with a 7-step framework so that, and the reason why I say friends and family, because I just finished the copy. And when they first started, only their friends were listening and their family were listening. The same for their guests. I think I was a guest when they first started. And now they have listeners from all over the world, internationally known listeners. So number one, how do you find the right guests for your podcast? How do you monetize it? Get sponsors for your podcast? All these questions you may have today about starting a podcast, growing a podcast, you'll be able to hear on April 15th at 10 a.m. And you may go to the What Now Movement website to register today.
All right.
Today.
Wow,
Congratulations.
that was breaking news.
That's great.
Wow.
today.
Awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
So I expect Lesson Sydney to be on there for the Intentional Foreplay podcast.
We got
Absolutely.
some work to do on that intentional foreplay. I was just explaining to Eric earlier. This takes commitment to have a consistent podcast. That is amazing.
Consistency is one thing that Eric and Ted have done this. How many Mondays at 6 o'clock?
4 years.
For 4 years.
4 years.
And
Wow.
they went from 87 downloads a week to 15,000 downloads a week. So you got to be consistent with it, and they'll teach you how
Yes.
in the podcast masterclass.
Yeah, thank you for
great.
bringing
That's
that up. I
exciting.
mean, we walk you through step by step. Like I said, we call it the friends and family plan, but that's it. Those are our listeners.
Right.
So, but no, and we bumped our head on a lot of things, right? That could have saved us time, and we'll share those so that as you're listening, and watching, you can grow a lot faster than we did. So, yep, definitely check us out. April 15th. It's go to the whatnowmovement.com and click on the events tab, and you
Click
can
on the
register.
events tab. Yeah, Eric didn't even have that microphone when he first started.
No.
Right. Yeah, we definitely will. That's one thing when we learn from someone that already has the experience. It just saves a lot of time
Yes.
Exactly.
and heartache.
And hard. Right?
Absolutely.
Right.
For sure. So thank you again, Maisha, for making that announcement.
Yay.
And again, Les and Sydney, where can people go to get this great book?
Go to www.intentional4play.com.
Fantastic.
Or anywhere where books are sold. But the best
right.
deal is at the website.
Yeah, I was being intentional as I want them to really promote this book. Yeah.
Right.
Intentional. There you go. That's like the theme word for this episode. Because I think that's the key to success in anything. If the more intentional you are, the more likely you are to have success. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
thank you, Les and Sydney, for writing this book. I mean, it's definitely something that's needed, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. And hopefully we've helped some people today on this episode of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And don't forget to share the show.
Share the show.
Share the
That's
show.
right.
Don't keep us a secret. Just pass this on to somebody who needs the message. This is a special Valentine's Day episode of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. There you go.
Thank you for having us on. We really appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yes. Thank you, Eric, so much. And thanks, Maisha, for joining.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Like, when he told me you two were going to be on, I said, let me stop what I'm doing, which is the podcast masterclass, and jump on.
No, we definitely appreciate you, Maisha, for joining us as well. And for those of you watching or listening, don't forget you can actually go back and listen to this episode and the other episodes on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and any of those other podcasting platforms where you like to consume your content. That's our show for this week. And until next time, have a great one.